So I was listening to a webinar, Juno, and it just triggered a thought in my mind when he was talking about the universe and how the universe doesn't see the morality, doesn't go by humanized morality, right? So it made me think about that from an empathic way, because at first my first response to that was like, so that's like saying that the universe doesn't have empathy, which couldn't be true because we have empathy, right? And plus, this is off me reading my blogs that I have on my website, and it was talking about love and just the love being what love is and not the humanized version of love, which makes it seem like it's something to be suffered or that will hurt you and all these other things, when that is not what love is. It's a abuse of the concept. But anyway, and so it made me think that, well, no, the universe, that would say like the universe is like so robotic, like technology. You know how like technology doesn't have emotion, so it makes decisions just based off pure calculations, which not having that empathic element to its decision making is why it would do things cruelly or not see things from different angles, and only is so technical. And so it seemed like the universe couldn't be that way because we are reflections of the universe, and we're complex in these ways. It's just that if we understand the complexities of our ways, then we will understand the divinity of the universe, because the universe is the divine interpretations of all of those things. So a divine is very harmonious. So if you were to be 100% in all of these, as far as your work and it's in a perfect balance of harmony with them, like like the sound waves and things like that you would see like on an app like this where I'm making my recording. Everything is working in harmony together, so that where I may need more bass, or it may be more sound over here, over there, or whatever the case may be, so that my voice can come through clearly in the recording. It's all working together in a harmonious way, but it's not like all the same. It has to, each part has to do its own individual part that it needs to do in that particular moment in a harmonious way. And so with the universe working in that manner, it will be like this highest form of empathy where you can understand that a situation is going to hurt the person's feelings, like they're going to experience unfavorable emotions. However, when you think about what it is that you hear their heart call out for, what you hear them protest to, and they're not in a circumstance that would move in that direction, because the universe also is doing the same thing with the other person, and they know they're not going to give you what you're looking for. You're going to be this miserable. This not going to get better. And it's like, well, if you want to be better, then we're going to have to move you, and you're going to have to go through the experience of pain in order to do that. And it's okay to go through the experience of pain, because pain is part of the experience. The experience, the journey that gets you to where you're going. Just like it reminds me of the annoyance that can come from having to do a long trip. I mean, yes, it's going to be long, I'm gonna be tired. I'm probably gonna be hungry. I'm not gonna be able to stretch out the way I want to. I'm gonna have to do some things to try to keep me engaged in the drive, especially when you're doing it by yourself. But you know that where you're going is where you're trying to get to. And then that knowing, is that momentum, that keeps you going. And that knowing comes from empathy. The emotion, the emotions that we can feel from a perception of something, So the universe is doing the same thing, but just at a divine level, to where they can see where you want to get to, and empathetically can perceive what that will feel like for you, and divinely move things out of your way so that you can continue on your journey in a direction that you truly desire. And you will have to learn to be a certain type of way, because the person that you desire also desires a certain type of person. And if you're not that type of person, then they won't be there. You have to go through the journey of becoming that person for each other, looking at it in a divine coupling kind of way. So yeah, that was a very powerful download that came through for me with that. So oh my gosh, yes, it's we can't even look at empathy the way that we see empathy now, because this was the other thought. It was like a secondary thought that followed up that big one. This one's big too. It's even with empathy, looking at empathy from a divine perspective, it's we see, when I look at empathy from a human perspective, that it's seen as kind of being there and holding space with someone, but it's kind of come from this space of support, comforting support. I would say that sounds right, because it's when you're empathetic with someone, you're comforting them, and so it's not comforting for someone to have the type of empathy for you that they, understand that you have to experience pain for you to become, and so that you can move in that direction that you want to move into. Because through all of our experiences, we learn things, and we learn things through experience that provoke different emotional experiences, because our emotions are also our teachers into deeper understanding of ourselves. And I think our emotions helps us to understand the divineness of the universe when we look at it through the perspective of, removing things that no longer serve you, or that don't align with you. That comes from a space of emotional understanding of not wanting to be in a space of suffering, and wanting to be in spaces where you have more blissful experience than the not so blissful experiences. So the human experience of that is comforting. So when we think about the way in which the universe is divinely empathetic, we have to incorporate that other part of empathy that isn't comforting, but is still empathetic, which made me think about this term that's trending around now, which is dark empath, which to me makes sense because, like I just said, our idea of empathy and how it has been presented and conditioned into us is to be comforting, which is to be of light energy. You know, how we all kind of universally understand light energy. And when we do that, we don't leave space for the other side of things, the dualities, because everything is a duality. We know that from yin and yang. So even empathy will have a duality. So the light version, the comforting version, also has on an extreme side of that a dark part, you know, that can understand your emotional state, and probably can get from that understanding what you may need to be comforted, and would intentionally not comfort you because they get something out of your suffering from the empathy. Empathy is an energy. So energy powers things, and some people feel powerful when they can control people's emotions. So that would explain that dark empath energy. But when empathy is divine, is the balance of them both. So it's understanding your where the space that you're in, but having the courage and a deeper understanding to present that to you, in a way that's more direct, you know, knowing that you may not like what they have to say, but saying it anyway because you know they need to hear it, because the empath in you knows that that's what they need to hear. It's because you know empaths are emotionally intelligent, you know. Is, you know, like the feeling kind, feeling emotions, and kind of emotionally, intuitively knowing, you know, what may be needed to be placed in this space. That's the power of empathy. But a dark empath feeding off people's energy, you know, that's not divine at all, and it's not of the light either. So that's the duality of it. So it made me think about that as well, and how us understanding one helps us to understand how we may need to balance the other. Where a dark empath may need to incorporate more light into their understanding of themselves, or a willingness to shift that in order to come to a place of divine balance, or divine empathy. And the person that's too comforting and not having the courage to really utilize the gift fully, and tell people what they're feeling or what they're sensing empathically, in a lovingly intentional way. So the intention behind the energy, you know, is not to harm. The intention behind the energy is to support and love, probably. So it made me think about the dualities of that, and how we, with this unconditioning, unlearning shit that's going on within me, it's like that's how I start to understand what I may need to unlearn and learn when when I think about how things are presented to us, presented to our minds for our understanding, and excluding a major part of the thing. It reminds me also, like, of when I'm listening to books or watching movies, and there is this family secret or something going on, right? So let's say, like in one of my most recent books I read, the kids, they were teenagers. The teenagers where, they had magic, right? But there were some rivalries and things that happened in the past as far as their family line goes that the elders there, their parents, wasn't talking to them about. They wasn't giving them the information. They wasn't sharing their knowledge with them because they wanted to protect them from feeling something, whatever it was that they believed that they was going to feel, that they determined was going to be something that they couldn't handle. And in doing so, it put them at risk because they didn't have the knowledge to understand what they needed to protect themselves from. It's like we can't protect people from their feelings or what they're supposed to experience, because the only thing that we're really doing is prolonging the experience when we don't share. They may not change when we share in the moment, but we put it out there for them to hear and to consider. Even if the consideration may be delayed. When they do come around to it, that would have been there. And also, once you say something and you put it out there, it's heard. And whether or not it's accepted in a way where it could be a possible truth or something like that is up to the other person. But once it's out there, it's heard. Once it's heard, it can't be unheard. And so putting things out there with the intention of support and love behind it, it puts the energy out there in that way. The person's response to that energy will be reflective of where they're at in their own journey. So if they respond in an unfavorable way, then that's what happened. But, it's like, okay, because the universe takes that risk too. When something happens in a person's life and it's in their experience and heartbreak and pain and suffering and all the things, and they can be mad at the universe. They can be mad at God. But it still had to happen. And most of those people, at least the ones that I have encountered and had these similar kind of conversations with, comes back around when they get the understanding. And makes amends with God or with the universe, which God and the universe probably ain't even holding a grudge or resentment or anything in a way that an amends was needed for them to still love you unconditionally and do the work that they were supposed to do, because that is the power of divinity. So that was the download. Ow. That was the download. It felt really good to get that out. All right. Peace.